Welcome to another season of Digging Deeper, a podcast of Perimeter Church in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm Senior Pastor Jeff Norris here with my co-host Laura Story Elvington, and we're excited to be back in your earbuds and your streaming platforms. But we're changing things up just a little bit for this short 4-week mini-series that we're calling Unshakable.
We're going to be sitting down with 4 different guests as they share their stories of how walking through a shaky season of life has further revealed the unshakable character of God. And we pray that you'll both find hope and encouragement in these testimonies as you're drawn back to the truth of God's unshakable character in whatever season of life you may be walking through. So let's dig in.
Well, as always, we're thrilled you've joined us, and we are thrilled for this episode to have the Francoeurs with us, Jeff and Catie Francoeur, which for many of you guys, either watching or listening, you probably, especially in the Atlanta area, recognize that name, Jeff Francoeur, and his wife, Catie. Of course, I'm always joined by the great co-host that she is, Laura Story Elvington. And so, this is going to be a great episode as we continue in this second episode of the series we're doing right now called Unshakable. And as you just heard in the opener, we're really wanting to dive into stories where all of us, every single person, has something that we've experienced, and maybe we're too young for this to have happened yet, but you will. It will happen. Mm-hmm. Meaning, at some point, you will feel shaken by life, circumstantially, emotionally, spiritually, whatever, to where we read in Hebrews, and we did a series on this recently in the last year, of the unshakable kingdom of God. And we believe that, and we know that his kingdom is unshakable, but yet life can feel very shakeable. Mm-hmm. And so how do we experience the unshakable reality of the kingdom in the midst of the shaken reality of life? And so we want to talk to you guys about that, because there's probably a temptation, I would guess, for listeners to think, man, I bet Jeff Francoeur's life and his family life has never been shaken. Everything's gone well for that guy. Sports star, broadcaster, everything he touches turns to gold. All that, that's the temptation, right?
So that's why you brought Catie in here.
So that's why I brought Catie to tell the real story. The real story.
We just need to invite everybody over to our house.
Yeah, that's right. So we just want to peel back the curtain a little bit and just say, okay, y'all are human like everybody else, and you've had to trust God for some really significant things, just like every Christian.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of the direction.
We're both excited to be here.
Yeah,
we've been members here at Perimeter for 16 years, and
has it been that long?
It has, and I like to say though, I love Jeff and I love Randy, who was here before, but Catie can tell you, when Laura goes, I'm out.
When she leaves,
if she leaves the church, I'm out.
Okay, that's so ridiculous.
Laura is his favorite person.
Oh, whatever.
Listen, he's not lying. He will ask me from time to time if you haven't been on stage leading worship for maybe a 3 or 4 week period. He'll text me, where's Laura?
Well, so all our kids
who's that guy you had up there? He was not good.
It's kind of awkward.
Our kids were in preschool together. Now they're all in elementary school. But so we kind of go back to there. But I do think it's kind of funny that you are his pastor, and he's shared and confided in you, and you bring him on your podcast and ask him all the intimate questions.
You're going to tell the world what you told me. Yeah.
Shoot, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So I want to know, how did you guys meet?
Hold on. Real quick, before we go there.
Oh, gracious.
You told a story before we started recording that I want you to tell because it was so great.
Do you remember when our girls were in preschool together, and they would have, the parents would come in and just kind of share with the kids, and I came in and sang Christmas carols with the class, and then you came in the next day or sometime that week, and you had brought all this really cool memorabilia, and one kid raised his hand and said, "Hey, so do you sing?" And you were like, "No." And then another kid raised his hand, "Do you play guitar?" "No."
That was the music class in there, and I think I was set up. And
he goes out and says, "You made me look like a chump."
They didn't care about anything.
In fact, if
he
had started singing, they would have all gone, "Please stop,
please stop." That is true. I love to sing more than anything, but I am tone deaf and I'm horrible.
He is horrible.
Actually, the church I grew up at, when I was 9 years old, they asked me to lip sing during the Christmas prayer.
No.
Yeah, 9 years old.
That's so sad.
So we've already shown that not everything you do is
it's
great.
not good.
No, just ask our kids. He starts singing in the car, and they're like, "No,
Please, Daddy, stop.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
All right. So now personal life.
We met in the 3rd grade actually at a birthday party.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I like to say she saw my athleticism running and just knew that.
No, I just saw the buck teeth and the no. I just knew.
Buck teeth in the nose.
Yeah.
We had a
Nice.
love-hate relationship for
We
a
did. We
long
grew up
time.
together.
We've grown up since 3rd grade, went to school together.
We're in the same friend group, but
We went to
we're
the
either tight or
Yeah,
not
we
at
went to
all.
the 7th grade Valentine's Day dance
Oh, that's
together.
sweet.
There's a picture that's actually.
The ugliest thing you've
Oh
ever
my
seen.
gosh.
It is so
We're wearing some
ugly.
hideous clothes.
Can we put that in the show notes?
You
We're gonna need that.
absolutely.
We need a copy of
oh,
that.
y'all,
You
it's
should.
So bad.
It's bad. And then we kind of, the usual. She got freshman year, dated an older guy when I wanted to date, so I resented her for a while. And then we finally started dating our senior year.
In high school.
Yeah.
In high school, yeah.
Yeah, at Parkview.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, just to continue the story a little bit, Catie, you went to Georgia,
I went to Georgia.
while Jeff went straight to professional baseball, right?
All over the Southeast and the minor leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah. First time I ever flew to see him, it was in Danville, Virginia, and we ate at a gas station.
Nice.
It's like,
Wow.
this is some high
Sheetz
living
gas
right
station,
here.
though, if you ever around
Oh, that's a
there,
good
it's
gas station.
It actually is
unbelievable
really good.
gas
Have you been there?
station.
Sheetz gas station? Yeah.
Oh, they have
Yeah.
made-to-order
Great food.
subs that
It's
are the
really
best you'll
upscale
ever
gas
have.
station.
Is
Yeah,
Very-
it's not
Very
your,
upscale.
If you're gonna take someone for a date, like to a gas station,
Go
it's,
there.
It's
Are we
not very
talking? Are we
close.
talking Buc-ee's type thing, or
No.
Not
no.
as big. No, not
Yeah.
that big. But it's got made-to-order, so it's good.
Okay.
I eat
okay.
there every day.
So I knew Catie when I was on staff with Crew at the University of Georgia. Catie was a student there and involved with our ministry. And of course, people were learning, or if you were from the Atlanta area, you were familiar with Jeff's sports career in football and in baseball. And so there was always a little bit of a, I don't know if you knew this, Catie, but a little bit of a buzz of like, oh, the girl that Jeff Francoeur dates is involved with Crew at Georgia. And but anyway,
And then we broke up, and then it didn't matter after that.
and
Like, we
no,
broke
I
up
was just
for-
about to say,
Just kidding.
I was just about to say that way more important than who you dated, I got to know you then and thought you were in and of yourself really awesome.
Thanks,
And
Jeff.
and it was a joy to have you involved in our
Thank you. I loved that.
in our ministry in those years, which was like what, like
I don't wanna
04-ish,
say it.
05, somewhere in there.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
03,
wanna- I don't want to
Yeah.
admit it.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which, can y'all believe that's almost 20 years ago?
I know.
It's crazy. All right, so then you dated how long, and then
We
when
broke up
when
for
was
about
marriage?
a year
We
in
did. I was an idiot,
college.
and that's a whole nother story.
No,
but
it
we
was
won't.
good. And then then we got back together, got engaged. We got married in 2007.
Yeah.
So married in 07. How many kids now?
4.
4 kiddos.
Great.
Yeah.
10,
This is
8,
the
5, and 3.
4-kid club.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. That's all of us, right?
Yeah.
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 So, okay. 4 kids. Part of the story that I think you guys are going to share a little bit about of just when did you feel, when has been a time in your life and marriage when you were like, man, that really shook us to the core. And I think it has to do with becoming parents and trying to become parents, right?
Yeah, I would say we had probably a good 2.5 year period where just a lot of different stuff happened. And from us trying to have kids to my baseball life going straight down and just trying to balance that. And, as you like to talk about, believe in a lie, believe in what Satan's telling you, but trying to fight against that. And I think, for us, we tried to get pregnant for a while. We had a, go ahead.
We actually got pregnant accidentally right when he was traded to the Mets from the Braves.
Yeah.
That pregnancy did not continue. But then we just made a vow to let's just enjoy life, for a while. And then you signed with the Kansas City Royals,
I could
right?
sign with the Royals in 11, and we started trying, I think, that year, and we got pregnant around Christmas of that year.
A little bit earlier.
A little bit earlier, yeah. But we went to Arizona. So spring training for the Royals was out in Arizona, and she had an appointment one day, I think around noon or something. But I went to the field. We had a game every day at 1:00. And I didn't think anything of it. Everything had been great with her pregnancy, all this. And so I was out playing a game and actually came in, the second or third inning, and they pulled me aside and told me that she had called. And, of course, she had a miscarriage. And
Catie, how far along were you at that point?
I was into my second trimester, I think like 15, 16 weeks.
17
So
weeks,
pretty
yeah.
significantly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, not that any miscarriage, look, it's all tough, but the first time, like, you know, it was one of those that we weren't even trying, and you know, not that it makes it any easier, but it was like we didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And this we'd been praying about, we had wanted it so much. We felt like we were at a great spot in our lives. We were in Kansas City. We had so many good friends there. So, you know, there was a lot of hurt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it was weird too. It's not like, oh, we're at home. Like, my mom did hop on a plane and come out, but we weren't around friends. We weren't around family. I remember the GM drove Jeff home, and I drove Jeff home, or I drove home to meet them, and he was sitting on the back of his truck with the general manager of the team.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Just an amazing guy, but it was so foreign, and then it was hard to not be in the place you're normally in when you need comfort. So it was extra. Like, I'm in a foreign hospital. I'm with a foreign doctor. Like you know, it was weird.
Nothing felt comfortable.
No, it didn't. But, you know, I think at the same time, looking back now, we realize that, like, the team we were on,
we're exactly where we needed to
be. The GM
Yeah.
of the Royals was Dayton Moore, who's an incredible man of faith and integrity. And out of, you know, I don't know where a lot of upper management, as they like to say, people that I worked for stood as far as their faith goes. But Dayton was very outspoken. And so to have a guy like that drive you to meet her, to pray with you on the back, like, you know, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then it was a sweet gift. We had a couple friends that just kind of sat in that with us for the next few weeks. Like, they didn't know what to say. They didn't know, you know, what that looked like to walk through, but they were just there, which was everything.
Yeah, now they're our two closest friends in baseball. We go somewhere with them every year on vacation too. Yeah. So it's awesome.
Isn't it interesting when you walk through something like that with people, the bond that's created, you know, that lasts. It's not just a, hey, when I get traded somewhere else or when we live somewhere else, we'll probably lose touch. But
no, they're
And I think more than anything is we had to rely on, obviously, God and each other more than ever, because like you said, we were in Arizona, so we didn't have family out there. So you're trying to live this for the rest of spring training for 3-4 weeks to, you know, trying to heal. Obviously, at the same time, you're trying to play baseball, get ready for so, you know, that's the thing. It's you know, people see this one side. You go to the park, you do this, but at the same time, just like any other family, there's hurt, there's pain, there's things you're dealing with. You know, I say you're sitting there trying to sign autographs and be nice to people, and all you really want to do is not do that.
Yeah.
Go home.
You know, go home and get out of there.
And fans rarely, if ever, think about
no, they don't.
The humanity of
that.
the player, and what might be happening on the home front.
Yep.
That, you know, I mean, fans aren't going to think about that, right?
That's such a hard thing to walk through on such a public stage.
Yeah.
So what did that look like? How did you balance, you know, like you were saying, pushing through and doing the next thing, but still finding that time to grieve?
I think it was a process to learn to grieve.
Yeah.
You know, like, you just know it. There's no book. There's no anything. Like, you just, I mean, yes, like, you turn to things like prayer and scripture and each other. But there's no, especially in infertility, I don't feel like there's a lot of guidance with grief, because the grief looks different than any other kind of grief. It's a grief you didn't get to touch and feel and see. You're just walking through something that feels very foreign. So I think more than anything, it was just, you know, the nights that you lay awake and you just pray. Like, and one thing that I feel like we learned from that, and then all the other things we experienced, is there's so many times in life where you don't feel your faith, you know. You don't feel like, oh gosh, Lord, I just really believe that you're doing this for good. It doesn't feel like that at all. In fact, it feels the opposite. Like, why are you doing this? What did I do? But choosing to say, I feel one way, but I believe another. I believe that this is good for me. I believe that somehow, some way, this hurt, this pain is going to glorify you one day. And I believe that these things to be true, and speaking them to each other too.
Yeah,
you know.
I think the hardest thing was watching her, because I had an outlet. You know, not that you weren't thinking about it, but I went to the field from 8 to 4.
Yeah.
You know, so you're around other people, you're doing this, and that's why having some of those other girls out there, her mom, you know, I think my parents came out, you know, so you're not just living it and thinking about it all day. You know?
Yeah. Continue the story a little bit, because I know that wasn't necessarily the end of.
No.
I mean, the next year and even longer, some more challenges came.
Well, so it was ironic that we had gotten pregnant so quickly, because in the next year, it took a really long time to conceive again. And so it was kind of that I always felt like we were in waiting, like we were always waiting for something. But then we did conceive, and we were pregnant with our first, Emma Kate, and this was in 2000. She was born in 2013. So Jeff had been doing wonderfully with the Royals. Great season.
Up until that point.
And then I conceived.
Wasn't that the World Series year? Was that when you went
No.
to the World Series?
No.
Okay.
No,
I
that
went
was
to
the
World
year
Series in
before.
2010
Okay.
with the
Okay.
Rangers.
Oh, that wasn't the Royals year. I got you. Okay.
No,
Okay.
no, I missed the
There's-
Royal. I
there's
like to
so
say that I
many-
helped build the foundation,
You did.
Yeah.
and then they went to the World Series the next year
There
after
you
I
go.
left.
Yeah, they released Jeff, and then they went to the World Series.
You built that foundation well.
Exactly. I had to lead these young men.
Exactly.
There you go.
So he was released from the Royals, and then we had Emma Kate, 3 weeks later?
Yeah, so I was released from the Royals. I came home for a week. I signed with the Giants, San Fran. So I had to go out to Fresno, California to their AAA for like a week just to get playing again, because I hadn't hit or anything in like 7-8 days. In the meantime, we're like getting ready to induce with her on the All-Star break. So finally I go up to the you know, after a week in Fresno, I went up to the Giants for like a week. And actually, my first game as a Giant was Tim Lincecum's no-hitter, so I got a nice watch out of the deal.
wow.
At least. My first game there, I'm like, this is fantastic. And,
So wait, I didn't know that's how it works. So if somebody pitches a no-hitter, then the whole team gets a gift?
Well, usually the guy will
usually
splurge
will.
and do so. He got a real nice watch.
I
I
didn't
got my
realize
name
that.
engraved in it, the whole deal. I'm like,
were
this
there
is
for a
perfect
day.
timing.
Yeah.
But so I literally we were in San Diego. I took a red-eye home. My mom and dad picked me up at the airport, took me to the hospital. She had
Emma
been
Kate was-
induced that night
The night before.
as I was flying home, and we had Emma Kate that Monday.
Wait, hold on. I got to tell you the funny story, though. The best part is, it's, the doctor comes in, checks. He's like, all right, it's time to have a baby. And Jeff, I know he had just flown in from the red eye, but he sits up and he's like, wait, I got to shower. I'm like, oh, please. What else? Would you like a cup of tea?
Oh,
as well?
you're not ready yet?
Yeah,
honey?
This is
sorry.
where it starts different. The doctor
Wait,
said
hold
we
on.
have 10 minutes to set up,
No,
and I
he
said,
did not.
great, I'm going to jump in the shower.
Oh,
real
that's
quick.
great.
Yeah, it's all
I
about
was
you.
exhausted, man.
Why did you think you needed a shower before?
I was tired.
the
I wanted
pictures?
to wake up. No, I wanted to wake up before
Oh,
the
you were
action
tired?
happened.
You were
know?
tired? Because that was
Yeah, no, it
was
has
that
been a
long
really
flight?
hard flight, and
Exactly.
I had just
Hey,
been eating bonbons.
You're
over there.
getting no sympathy from any woman
I
listening
know,
right now.
and that's fine, but
So we had Emma Kate, and then 2 days later, you flew back to.
I flew back to San Fran. And it was just, it was one of those things that you just like, I kept asking myself, God, why did you finally give us this baby? And now I can't even be home.
Yeah.
I'm at a place I don't want to be. I'm not playing well. I'm probably playing the worst I've ever played in my life. And I'm like, what am I doing here? And it was tough because she was at home and, look, she's worried about the baby and everything. It's just go, go, go.
No, and then we drove 2
They
weeks
drove
later
to
see
Tampa.
you.
We played
No, DC, right?
the Rays and Tampa. Y'all came
yeah, yeah.
twice, but in like a 2-week period, and I got to see Emma Kate, hold her. And I finally was just like, honestly, my prayer, and I was probably depressed at this time, honestly. I think I got down to 198 pounds.
He had lost it.
And
Which is like compared to what that you would have been.
usually I played 220, 225.
Okay, so you'd lost a lot of weight.
I'd
yeah.
lost a lot of weight. And, my prayer was just, let me go home. Literally, like, I don't know what my baseball career is going to look like, but I'm ready to go home. And God answered my prayer. 2 days later, I got called in the manager's office, and he was like, look, the last month of the season, you're probably not going to play. We're going to bring some young guys up, see what they can do. So if you want to stick around, you can. If you want to go, I was already getting paid by the Royals because they released me. So it's kind of a good deal. I got to go home, and I got paid a bunch of money for a month to just hang out with her and our baby. Yeah. But it was so nice to be home, and that's what I needed at that moment.
But he also knew if he came home that the next year would not turn out like he would not get a big league contract.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the way
baseball you mentioned
worked.
Before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about this. And again, it's funny, I've followed sports so much my whole life, but I haven't understood exactly how behind the scenes work and the contracts and so forth. And you mentioned something that I wasn't aware of. So if you get released like that,
pretty much,
then you have to start the next year in minor leagues.
You don't have to, but for the most part, like there was a month left in the season, even after San Fran, and Toronto had called my agent and wanted me to come play, and I just was like, I'm done. I'm done for the year. We were going to the beach.
And for a minute, you considered being done for good.
Yeah, but he was like, well, you're probably going to have to sign a minor league contract next year, which means you go to spring training to try to make a team. You don't know if you're going to make it or not. And I just, at that point, like I said, I was like, great.
Yeah. So fair to say that there was a season there where you were depressed.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously contemplating retirement.
Yep.
Naturally wanting to be home with Catie, your new baby daughter. Mm-hmm. There was a point, I remember, for those listening and watching, Jeff was, we were in a discipleship group together for 3 years.
Yep.
And I remember you sharing at one point that Catie kind of helped
lit a fire under
I was
me.
about to say, how do you want to say it? What do you,
There's a lot of ways you can say it.
What happened, so the next year, he signed a minor league deal with
Cleveland. And I actually had an unbelievable spring training.
And we went back out to Arizona. It was actually such a fun spring training.
It was the best spring training we ever had.
He got cut, though, had a great spring and still got cut.
Yeah.
That last day or two.
Yeah,
but then you signed with San Diego.
I signed with San Diego, and I had to go to AAA. Well, that was the first year that they had opened up in El Paso.
Oh, wow.
So we loaded up.
That's a destination.
Me, Catie, and our 9-month-old girl, and went to El Paso, Texas.
And some of our good friends actually were also playing on the team, and we all shared an apartment together. They had 2 little boys. We had little Emma Kate.
Yep.
And we would go to Target for fun every day because there was Juarez you could go to.
I mean, literally, you drive home every day and you look into Juarez, Mexico, which is the most dangerous city in America.
No, it's not.
Not America, in the world.
That's not Mexico.
You know what I mean?
No, but it feels like I know exactly what you're talking about.
You're driving on I-10
you just see it
right
over
there.
the fence.
But then El Paso's so safe because there's so much border patrol.
Yeah, you actually do feel safe.
So
there.
how long had you been playing in El Paso?
Gosh, probably 5 weeks, and I was not playing good. I was struggling,
and we were flying in and out and in and out.
And her and her mom and Emma Kate come to Vegas, so we're in Vegas to
on
play
Easter Sunday.
Easter Sunday in Vegas.
You ever been to Vegas on Easter?
You need to go to Vegas on Easter Sunday.
You never need to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
I mean, there's.
I think I was sitting there thinking, I don't know that I've ever had that desire.
Well, you don't. You do. Mm-hmm.
No, but so we're staying at the Golden Nugget Hotel is where they put the team up. Our youngest was chewing on a little toenail.
No. She didn't chew. No, we go into the room. I set her down to turn around and get our stuff, and sure enough, she picks up something, and I'm like, no, what is that? I open her hand, and it's 2 grown men's toenails. I was like, I think I'm good. I think I might this whole thing. I just don't know if it's for us.
So, little caveat right here for anybody that's listening, who might be a younger teenager, and you're thinking, man, I can't wait. I want to be a professional baseball player.
No.
Because it's so glamorous. Such a glamorous life.
AAA ball, AA ball.
Let me tell you,
there's no glamour.
The minor leagues are zero glamour.
Yeah.
I mean, you are doing everything you can to work to get to the top. You don't get paid well.
No.
I mean,
and you stay in the Golden Nugget Hotel.
They stay in the Golden Nugget Hotel.
On the old strip where things are even more.
Yeah, I kept thinking, should we go to
debaucherous.
Should I just use some of my big league stuff and go to the MGM?
No, literally. I told Jeff, I was like, we need to leave. This is horrible.
But I remember I had been struggling, and it was more of, look, I think I just didn't care. I was mad. I had a bad attitude. And, the thing that probably hurt more than anything was 2 things. I'd been in the big leagues for 9 years. So I had all these young guys at AAA that were just dying for me to just pour into them. about what it's like playing in the big leagues, help teach them. And I was so worried about myself and my career that I missed so many good opportunities. And so I remember Easter Sunday, her mom kept Emma Kate, and we went down to have dinner, just the two of us. And in all intents and purposes, she literally told me, like, if you're going to suck, come home and retire. Because I can't watch this
I'm not
anymore.
staying at the Golden Nugget anymore.
She was like, you're not trying hard. You look awful. And I mean, just hit me in the mouth. Like,
she kicked you in the
Well,
Well,
pants.
it was basically like, if you're going to have this attitude and you're not going to do with like what you've been given, then don't make us suffer through it too.
Yeah.
Like, come home or go out there and do what you've been given the ability to do.
Yeah. And I'm telling you what, that very next day, I'm telling you, I ended up getting 3 hits the next day in Vegas, and it changed my whole perspective. And I ended up spending, another 6 to 7 weeks there before I got called back up. But it ended up being probably 2 of the funnest months I've ever had playing baseball.
Yeah.
I bought in. There was a manager there who was the perfect manager for a guy like me at that time.
Yep.
He's like, Jeff, you want to take BP today? Great. You don't? I don't really care. But I was able to pour into these kids, end up having a blast. I like to say
And you played in front of, El Paso,
El Paso,
drew
it was
like
9,000 people a
9,000
night. It was a
More
brand
than
new
the
stadium.
Rays.
And
What else-
actually,
what else
because
is there
I
to do in El
because
Paso?
I had
Not a
played,
lot. Go to
because,
Target.
because I had played in the big leagues for 9 years, we didn't want to rent a car, ship one out. I actually got a car deal, a van. They gave me a van.
Nice.
So
So
I
you
got
drove
a
a van
van.
for 2
I
months.
drove a van
I
to
love
and
it.
from the field
actually
for
an
3
awesome
months.
van.
It was a great van.
That's awesome. So I just keep having questions, but
No,
I'm
no.
totally realizing I'm not giving you a chance to ask questions.
No, it's great. And you're more of a sporty person than I am. I'm more the musician. I bring the musical things to the podcast, which on this one, I'm learning so much right now. Let me ask you this, though. So, we're talking about just this theme of unshakable.
Yeah.
How do you, in light of the story you just shared, and really your entire career, how do you not let your performance be your value? And as a you're kind of living this out on a bigger
great
stage,
question.
but it's something that probably everyone deals with.
Yeah.
I just would love to hear from you.
Well, I think the biggest thing is, like you said, especially in baseball, you play 162 games. So every night, like, you finish a game, you walk in the club, so you feel good or you feel bad, right?
Yeah.
That's just natural. I got 3 hits, we won. I went 0 for 4 and we lost, and so you try to do that. And that's what we talk about, right? That's why in our sport, in baseball, to me, to find other guys that believe what you do, to believe the word of God and the promises that he gets. I don't know how people walk through baseball, and we've talked about that life without knowing Christ. I don't think I could have done
Because you
it.
fail 70% of the time. If you succeed, you are hitting 300.
And that's, you fail 70% of the time if you're
good.
playing really well.
Yeah.
And when all the rest of us fail, it's not usually on the news that night.
Right, and then
Like,
there's
it's such a
4
No,
beat
but
writers that have
public way.
opinions about it.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yes.
But vice versa, I'll say there's also great things in the fact that you have a great game, you go back to the hotel, you turn on ESPN, and you see yourself on there doing something, and that's where you want to pat yourself on. Look what I did.
Uh-huh.
So
And
you
tell me, though,
fight that temptation.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was going to say is, from a Christian worldview, obviously you want to be good at what you do. You want to be great at what you do to glorify God. How did you fight against that when you were doing really well, to not letting your performance be your God?
Her,
Katie.
her family.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I mean,
Right.
seriously.
I'm the Baham.
Like, I laugh all the time we talk about this, but I was in Randy's D group for 3 years, and
That's when you really grew spiritually. Not my D
yeah,
group,
yours was I just kind of went here, but
Plateaued.
with him. But it was always funny because we'd go play golf. Well, he plays all the time. I don't get to play as much as a pastor does.
Oh,
but
my
when Randy was going, but I remember we talked about this the other day. I always had my best year in baseball right after I signed a contract, which
if
is not what you want.
You're supposed to have your best year.
You want your
last
best
on
year
Yeah.
going into your contract
Right.
year, right? Where you can
Yep.
get the big deal and get this. And I never did that. But I always laugh because Randy would tell me all the time, my prayer for you and Katie is give me neither rags nor riches.
Yep.
And I think it's so true. She knows my personality. Like, if you gave me $100 million, there's no doubt I'd have a jet
Jeff would
tomorrow.
have a plane where he comes to pick everybody up every day, like the school bus.
Now I would be generous. You can fly on my plane whenever you want, but
Yeah.
I know
We
I'd
don't
have
need
a plane.
We don't need a plane.
And like, so my point to that is I think I've had the right people around me to try to keep me level-headed, to try to keep me where you need to and all.
I give your parents a lot of credit too.
Yeah.
His dad has treated Jeff the same from youth all the way through now. Like, it doesn't matter what his statistics were, anything, and he calls you to the floor. Like, he calls you on things if you need it, but he has treated Jeff like this. Like, you are who you are, not because of what you do. And he has always instilled that in you, and your mom too. But your dad's more like hard-nosed.
So let me put it in the framework of even, again, the thread we're pulling throughout this podcast is part of how God designs things is he leads us through very shakeable circumstances, things that shake us to our core, things that bring us to our knees, things that lead us into depression, all these things. But in it, he puts around us people that can be unshakable for us, that can help us be not so shaken.
Right.
And he gives us spouses that help us pull out of the ditch. He gives us parents who keep us humble. And ultimately all of it's pointing us to the reality of, okay, even those people that he graciously gives us that help us not be so shaken in the moment and pull out of the rut that we're in. And just the grieving, right? Grieving. We had a miscarriage at one point, and the grief that comes with that, you know, and the people that were around us were huge. But all of it is to point us to the ultimate reality of unshakable realities, which is God himself and his kingdom. Because at some point people are going to let us down, but he's never going to let us down.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't know how we're doing on time. I could talk to you guys forever.
As we land the plane.
Yeah,
I think
do we need to land it?
As we land it. Yeah, I want to hear what he has to say, and then think of maybe one more question.
Yeah, I got one last question, but you were about to say something.
I just think it's being vulnerable too, and allowing, like you said, people to walk with you.
Yep.
I mean, we
That's
always
good.
talk about community, right?
Yep.
And having those people to do life with and really lean on.
Well, and I think now, you know, time is such a friend in so many ways, because now looking back, we would have never changed those circumstances.
Wow.
Yeah.
The things that we have learned from that and grown from that, and, you know, fast forward, I don't know how many years that was, but after Camden, our last, we probably went through the hardest thing we've ever been through in our lives, but we weren't near as shaken as what we would have
That's
been
true.
10 years prior had we not entered into those seasons and almost had practice a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, and let God really refine us and really say, like, this, it's me.
And
like,
I think
I'm your
understanding that,
stronghold.
you know, he took care of us all those other times, you know, he's going to bring us out on the end here. It's
Yeah,
just-
his faithfulness. Like, that's what we talk about all the time. And that's what we tell our kids. Like, you are answers to prayer, but you are also a sign of his faithfulness. Like,
Yep.
that's what really our story has been. his
Yeah.
faithfulness.
And I was going to, what I was going to say a moment ago was not necessarily another question, as a comment to say this. Time doesn't allow in this episode, but I know y'all's story through Jeff well enough to know that as hard as the miscarriage was in 2012, that wasn't the last time that y'all walked through some really hard stuff.
Yeah.
And I've watched you guys pursue, not perfectly, because none of us do it perfectly, but pursue the unshakable kingdom of God in the midst of the trials of life. And I think if anything, man, it's always good to sit with public personalities and open the reality of that we're all human, we're all needy, we're all broken, and we all need Jesus.
We do.
And so just even thanks for letting us hear that from you guys. And we're grateful for you.
Well, we appreciate
you for
what y'all
having
do
us
and having
on.
us. And, you know, it was smart to invite her because, you know, in all truth, you know, when you do what I do and you played baseball and even broadcast now, having someone like her at home, you know, is your saving grace. I couldn't do it without her, knowing that you're coming home to someone that's been through what she's been through and still able to kick butt.
Well, no,
you
I
know.
think
Yeah.
it's too like it's the picture of marriage. It's the picture of Christ in the church. Like we, you know, you're supposed to balance each other, and
That's right.
And I shared with Jeff, I don't know if you remember when we were even talking about names of stories that people we want to invite in. I shared with him that just through a different relationship, I had a conversation once with someone who I won't name them, but who I'm pretty sure played ball with you during those hard years.
Mm-hmm.
And their take, when asked about you guys, they commented on your contentment, on your joy. And so I think it's not this coincidence that you guys are on more of a public stage walking through hard things. I feel like God kind of allows that to showcase what it looks like to be people of faith, not just in the good times, but in the hard times, and for others to see that. So thank you guys.
Oh my gosh.
And the impact,
Vulnerability.
the impact you're having on people that you don't even realize.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's so good to hear, because sometimes I feel like we're like baby giraffes, like tripping over the path. Like, oh gosh, just stay afloat. Like, come on, you can do it. Yeah.
No, it is. It is.
But that is the baby giraffe reality for all of us is often what's attractive.
Yeah.
People want to see, they struggle just like we do.
Oh gosh.
And where is their hope? And you don't say, my career's my hope, or, anything other than Christ.
It's so funny because, like you said, there are moments in my life where I know baseball became number one, and it's amazing how quick God shot that back down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm so glad he did, but it's like.
So thankful.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
We got more coming up in future episodes with Rebecca Lyons and
a special something for the last episode.
Is that okay? We're not going to disclose yet what the last episode.
Are you singing?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we'll do that.
You're singing with Jeff, right?
Can Jeff play guitar?
Jeff can play guitar, and
no, this Jeff can play guitar.
You can actually.
I'm not sure if our listening audience can handle that yet.
Yeah, but Jeff Norris can play guitar, but never in front of people because I freak out. But what I was saying is, it's nothing impressive. What I was saying is Jeff Francoeur is doing
Dave
a duet
Matthews.
with Laura, right?
Yeah,
is that what we're doing? Yeah.
We'll do that.
Oh, y'all. Oh, my goodness. I can't be there for that.
I feel like she'd bring me up a little bit, though, because they'd listen to her.
I feel like
It'll
that
be
would
great.
go viral for all the wrong reasons. So, anyway, all right, we're gonna wrap this one up. Join us for the next one. We're thrilled that you're journeying with us in this series we're doing called Unshakable.